Here we go.
Here we go.
I'm Jason Caras.
I'm Frank Clark.
Today we're talking a little bit about a subject that we think applies to every human being on the earth, which is what is the most important thing you could possibly learn in life?
Yes. And this kind of came out of us sitting around one time. We were out to dinner and we were sitting at a bar and there's a whole bunch of people there and we were, expanding on just in general life principles and life tips.
So like armchair philosophy, is that what you're saying, Frank?
I'm saying a little bit like that, Jason, yes. And as we were getting really deep over our martinis, the people around us started asking, hey, I know you guys are talking about a lot of stuff, but what do you think actually is the most important thing to learn?
Yeah.
And I had a theory on that night, but I'm going to actually change my my opinion on that today, because I heard something that actually resonated more with me than what I used to say. I used to think that the most important thing...
It's probably one of my ideas he's going to steal again.
It's probably one of his ideas, but he doesn't have a very good memory, so he doesn't really remember what
was that
really
me, or is that you?
It was me. Trust me. It's always...
How come it's always you?
It's always me. I'm older, wiser.
Yes, okay.
Yes, I'm the sensei of this team. So I used to think that it was all about state management. Like, you have to be able to control your state all the time, because we don't necessarily get depressed, we do depressed. We don't necessarily get happy, we do happy. We don't happen to sit with idiots, we just do it once in a while.
Wait, what?
Huh? But I've changed that thinking, okay? I really have changed that thinking in the way what I really believe, the most important thing, you can only learn one thing, and that's it. That one thing is gratitude. To be grateful for everything in your life, to be grateful for your health, to be grateful for your spirituality, to be grateful for your family, to be grateful for the job that you have, to be grateful for your existence on this planet and what you can bring to it, I think is vital. I think
that's the process of being grateful is an energy change. It's a psychological change. It's a physical change. Your body actually reacts to gratitude. When you sit and you center and you think, what am I thankful for? In Frank's famous quote, which I love and I've adopted, and apparently it's his, it wasn't mine, which
it's not even really mine, it's somebody else's. But
somebody else's. Yeah. Isn't it all recycled anyway?
It is, yeah.
But it was, what if today you woke up with only what you were grateful for yesterday? And if you really think about that, let that resonate for a moment, especially if you weren't grateful for anything. You'd have nothing. So, are you grateful for the breath that you can take without struggling? Are you grateful for the arms that you have that you can hug your children, or whatever it might be? But that process of being grateful is an amazing reflection. It's almost meditative, right? It's almost like being in a meditation where you can just sit in peace and be grateful for what you have in life. And I do that. I personally do it in the steam room. It's quiet, and then it's shh, and I can just zone everything out and just think about life and think about all the things I'm grateful for. And I typically go in the same order, and sometimes I add some things in there, or I'll be out and about and I'll see somebody and I'll like, I haven't prayed for that person, or I haven't said I'm grateful for that person in a long time. So that's kind of so gratefulness is certainly, it's probably the most powerful human emotion, second to love.
Yeah,
would you say that?
Yeah, I would say so, because we can love a lot of things in life, but not necessarily be grateful for it. I can love, I don't know, I can love a friend, but not necessarily grateful that they're in my life. So I think gratitude is. I can love money. Okay, I do. I love money. I love success. Right. Yep. But I'm more grateful for the experience of attaining abundance. I'm more grateful for my abilities to be able to manifest abundance. I'm more grateful for the people that I can influence that help, create abundance for me. Yeah. And I appreciate that more than just the abundance itself.
And let's take gratefulness to another level, because yes, what we're talking about right now is what it can do for you and the kind of perspective you can put into your life on a daily basis. Going off into the world from a grateful center will make you a different type of person. You will be perceived differently by others. But think about when you express gratefulness to somebody else. like when I say to you, Frank, you're such a good friend of mine, you're such a mentor, you've helped me, how does that make you feel, right? The way you feel when somebody shares with you how they're grateful for you and the efforts or just your presence, it makes that person radiate. And it's kind of like a dual radiation, right? You being grateful makes you radiate. And then when somebody is sharing that with you, they radiate, right? Or, and vice versa. So when you share it with somebody else, they're feeling that radiation. They're feeling that energy. It's just an amazing thing.
I'm just visualizing you with like big yellow sparks coming out of your face.
I would hope it was like my eye.
Like you're radiating.
So we covered gratefulness, and I agree. It's one of the, and you know what? We honestly, the list started with that, and a couple others, but it's turned into like I have 10 here written down. One of the things that I thought was, and there's a concept. It's not mine, but there's a company online that basically came up with this thing called 212 degrees. And it's about at 211 degrees, water's hot, and at 212 it boils. And it's just one extra degree that takes hot water to boiling water. So the way you can translate, in boiling water creates steam, and steam can power locomotives. The way I've translated that in my life is my very best. 211 is when you're working out, and let's say your muscles are starting to shake, and you're starting to break down, and your self-talk starts to say, you know what? You've worked out hard this week. You can stop at 8. You don't need to go to 12 when you had intended to go to 12. Right. That self-talk starts to happen. The ability for you to go into that uncomfortable state of tearing through muscles and going through excruciating, sometimes pain, to get to a gain is that 1 degree, right?
Yeah, it's a 2 millimeter shift. It's a 1 degree. It gets you from 211. It gets you from the point of being just hot water versus steam, right? Steam moves a locomotive, hot water does not. And it literally is that 1 degree difference. And, sometimes over a period of a lifetime, people minimize the 1 degree shift, right? Yeah. They minimize, well, you just saying hello to somebody on the street. Well, what do I need to do that for? Well, because you set in motion that 1 degree shift that maybe that person was having the worst day of their life, and they did something different because you showed them some love and just appreciation.
Maybe they didn't take their life.
Maybe they didn't take their life, or maybe they paid it forward, and they created something exponentially better for somebody else's life. Maybe if you looked at things, I went to a church service one time, and there was a guy that was preaching, and he was an underwater welder, and he was talking about how dangerous that is because you got tanks of oxygen and fire. Right, 2 things that don't necessarily go well together, right? And he's got a welding torch, and he's underneath the water, 20 feet, welding a seam on a bridge. And he's talking about that if he's off on that weld, the bridge will not be perfect, right? And 1 degree off, the whole thing will be set off in a wrong direction. And every time he's down there, he thinks, how am I influencing my life outside of here? How am I being spiritual? How am I bringing God into other people's lives? Or whatever you refer to as God, how can I make that 1 degree shift that then creates such a huge motion, who knows, 10, 15 years down the line, right? Things you do with your children. But
it's a good point, though. Down the line is typically where you'll get it. The instant gratification does not apply most of the time, right?
Well, except with your mom.
Yeah. when you give that extra degree, typically it's not that immediate response. It's down the road, just like in that bridge. It's not the effect of that off will show later in the bridge, right?
Yeah.
Just same thing with life, right?
Yeah.
In relationships.
Yeah,
and
and that's the 1 degree. You don't have to necessarily believe that. All the energy you may have in a day is weak. Okay, let's say that you're an overachiever and somebody that's striving and driving, always going on 100 miles an hour, and you're the king of adrenaline. And one day you just wake up and you go, I just don't have it today. I'm sick. I'm grieving. I'm anxious. Whatever it is, right? You don't have to be at 212 if the day before you looked at it and went, I just crushed it yesterday. Well, today's 212 for you is 1 degree. Maybe it's you just getting out of bed.
Right.
Okay? And that's the toughest thing and the most difficult thing you have to do that day. But it's more than you would have done if you weren't thinking in that 1 degree shift.
And it's about uncomfortableness, right? Your ability, Your ability to remain in an uncomfortable state will typically dictate the level of success in anything, in a relationship, in business, and in life. So your ability to enter into an uncomfortable state and remain in that, the longer you can, the better. That, you know, the no pain, no gain really does apply there, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's uncomfortable to get out of bed for that person that day, right? It's uncomfortable to say hello to that person and step out of their comfort zone. Stepping out of your comfort zone is a big thing for people, right?
Yeah.
You know, so that what is 1 degree? So, you know, for you folks and for us, the thing is to look for a way to find something that you can do that's just 1 degree, right?
1 degree better.
So is that the most important thing, you know, in our list? And we thought, well, that's certainly a big part of it, right? Your very best, you're in moving into an uncomfortable state in order to have the greater good, right?
Well, the moving into an uncomfortable state, I mean, that could be a whole, you know, 1 hour we could talk about just that point, right? Because, you know, I'm a big proponent of Tony Robbins, and what I heard Tony once say, that the quality of your life is directly proportional to the amount of time you can spend uncomfortably comfortable. So how much time can you spend outside your comfort zone comfortably? And if you think about it...
That's interesting.
Right? If you think about everything in your life that's been amazing, you have kids for the first time, you're changing a job, you're moving across the United States, or you're moving anywhere, right? You decide to get married. Hell, if you decide to get divorced, it's a difficult situation, but you know it's the right one. I don't know, you decide to move in with somebody, you decide to take a new job in a different company, right? At first, it scares the shit out of you. It really does. In all the things that have been the greatest achievements in your life, you know, you buy a home for the first time, right up until the minute you do it, it scares the shit out of you. So, if the quality of your life is you're just seeking these opportunities that scare the hell out of you, and you go, I'm ready for a breakthrough. This is scaring the shit out of me right now, so therefore, I'm gonna be uncomfortable. I'm gonna go do this because I recognize that throughout my life, I have a whole series of events that have scared me right from my childhood, right? First getting on a bike,
that
right? Learning how to swim.
We
survived 100% of our shittiest days, right? So, we're still here.
Yeah.
But are you testing that comfort zone? And maybe that's the 1 degree, right?
Right. Are you complacent? Are you living a life of complacency?
Yeah. Or you're going to, bust out and start doing it, right? I mean, it's all I can do to sit here next to this bright blue, baby blue shirt and the shoes that he's wearing today. It's really a 1 degree stretch. Okay?
His 1 degree was all his bling jewelry.
Thank God you can't see the shoes on this episode, okay? Because you'd be turning it off already.
Oh no, you wouldn't. All right, so let's move on. So I had originally said that 212 would have been mine, but then I've rethought that, and I think that evolve and have evolvement is a very important thing. I don't think there's any one, right? There's lots of things that are very important in life. There's no one thing that's the most important thing in life.
Well, yeah, gratitude's the most important thing. That's the thing I brought up, so.
Yeah, certainly, right? Because you brought it up, Frank.
Well, partly, yeah.
So I think it evolved, and I recently came into a symbol, came across a symbol that really depicts this really well. It's basically a spiral, and, just goes like it spirals out. So if you think of it this way, an idea or a state of mind or a state of physical health or wherever it is starts at ground zero. And as you evolve through 212, through consistency, through discipline, through all the things that support evolution, right? Your evolution. You start to mature, you gain understanding, you gain strength, you fortify, etc. It starts to expand outward. So that evolve symbol is something I came across, I liked. I think it sits well here in this conversation. As I thought about 212, I thought, well, you know what? Even bigger than 212 is for us to evolve and constantly seek to evolve. Don't get through things, grow through things. All the relationships I ever had that failed, I always thought and reflected later, like, what can I do? What can I learn from this process? In this case, you were looking for validation from a childhood problem you had, and in this case, you were possessive, or there was ways to improve. You just had to be. I had to be, and I think I am highly self-aware, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Unlike Frank, which the breath, I swear. I asked for a little distance, but...
Hey, again, his mom doesn't necessarily say the same thing.
Wait, what? All right. Okay, cool. So the other one that we talked about, Frank, was self-talk. Mm-hmm. You know, self-talk is such a, well, it's probably the biggest thing that we know that is happening with us, because it's happening all day long. Till the moment you open your eyes until the moment you go to sleep, there's so much self-talk going on.
Yeah, there's a dialogue always that you're having with yourself.
It's like the angel and the devil on the shoulder in the old cartoons, right? It literally is.
Or like in Animal House, right? The guy was looking at the naked girl on the bed, and he had the little angel and the devil.
That's right.
Like, don't.
That's right. Yeah.
You'll hate yourself in the morning.
Yeah, but you know, it's most people just go ahead with their day listening to these voices, and you're not crazy. We all have it. But what are they saying? Are you beating yourself up? Are you sabotaging your own outcomes before they even occur? We met a guy who's just last night at Eddie V's. He turned and looked at somebody, he made a smile, he walked right over to him. We thought, man, this guy's got balls.
Big time.
Right?
Yeah.
He really did.
Yeah.
And but what about the person who had that self-talk that said, oh, there's an attractive person over there. I'd really like to go and meet them. Oh, I can't. Why not? Oh, because I'm shy. Oh. And then the vicious cycle, right? And they don't ever actually do it. So they are, in a sense, immobilized and unfulfilled, right?
Well, they're unfulfilled too. And if you think about it, right, why are you shy? Because you're thinking about yourself. You're thinking about how are they going to judge me? What is it about me? Not necessarily about the other person. If you just want to make a connection with another person and really you truly give a shit about making the connection with them rather than how it affects you. Okay? Makes life a lot easier to just get up and walk over to somebody and say, hey, how are you? I noticed you from across the bar, across the room. You have a beautiful smile. Whatever it is, right? Whatever cheesy line.
You live around here often?
Yeah.
Excuse me, do you live around here often?
What's your sign? Get the hell out of here. Whatever it is, though, again, if you're genuine and you care more about the other person than you care about yourself, your own level of significance, it's going to make that approach a lot easier. It's just meeting people in general,
Well, and see, here's the thing. There's so much negativity raining down on us every day in the news and people. You get in an elevator and you ask somebody how they're doing, they're like, oh, and they complain. You're like, man, it can't go anywhere without hearing somebody complain. So self-talk has an effect, right? So what is that voice saying? How is it saying? What's the consistency of that self-talk? And know that it has a huge impact on the person you are, right?
Okay. Well, it directs you. Basically, the chatter in your brain is asking you a question. In essence, when it's talking to you and saying, no, you can't do this, it's or yes you can, or you shouldn't try that, or you shouldn't get up and go talk to somebody else. It's basically challenging you at some level. I don't think you can do this. Can you?
Right.
Well, and the way you answer it, obviously is to shut the voice down. I mean, think about it. Like, I read this, I think it was in Untethered Soul or a book like that. But it's a very good book about self-talk. And what analyzed it to, or the analogy that it gave to it was, imagine if the people that are your self-talk is your roommate, and they're sitting with you every single day, and you get up in the morning and you're having your breakfast and you're going, you know what, I'm going to have a great day today. And your roommate goes, no, you're not going to have a good day today. Look at the weather, it's shitty outside. You hate it when it's shitty outside. Basically you're not going to do this.
You got an aching back, and you got to go to work where you don't like these people, and
yeah, and so then I would tell my roommate, I'm like, hey, dude, chill a little bit, right? Chill. No, I'm going to go that. And then I'm going to go to hit the gym later on. No, you're not. You don't hit the gym. You did that yesterday. So you're going to make an excuse for that today. And you're going to eat that cheeseburger later as well, too, I betcha. Hey, dude, can you shut the fuck up? You start really get to the point where you go.
Right.
If your
at some point you'd kick them out, right?
If your self-talk was your roommate, they'd be out on their ass.
That's right.
They would be out on their ass so fast.
What a good
most of the
example.
time. Right, but we don't. It's okay if we're saying it to ourselves, but
right.
God forbid somebody else says it to you, right? It's like when you're having when you have kids, and the teacher goes, or some other parent goes, well, your daughter did this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh no, not my precious little angel. As long as it's got,
right.
Yeah.
But we need help, right? Everybody on the planet needs help managing their thought and managing their life. So one way to start is certainly start with your self-talk. Certainly don't make it worse on yourself, right? By filling yourself with limiting beliefs and negative thoughts. In fact, speak to your mind as if it was a child, because your subconscious mind responds to your conscious mind in literal childish ways, childhood ways. You literally say, "Oh, I can't do that." Then you say, stop yourself and rephrase that statement to say, "In the past, I couldn't do that, but I can now." Yeah. Even if you can't, it's just replacing that so that you're doing a pattern interruption. I used to think this. Now, this was the way I always thought, and now I'm going to start interrupting it. I'll still have the thought, but I'm going to go this way with a separate thought.
It's okay to validate your thoughts, right? Okay, I'm depressed, but I also like to add up until now. Or, or absolute statements that you make.
Well, I like the one you use, until.
Up until now.
Yeah, but you said, what was the other one you used?
Unless you're not.
Yeah, unless you're not.
Unless you're not. Like, people that say all guys from Boston or Massachusetts are assholes. Well, unless they're wrong.
Right.
Yeah, so as long as you qualify, you throw the qualifier in there.
Yeah.
I should say like a boy. You throw that qualifier in there, okay? Yeah. Then it'll help reframe your thoughts about people from Boston.
Yeah. So, that self-talk also really dovetails nicely to living in the present, right? And not living in the past. So many people are living through the lenses of the past, living their life in the rearview mirror, right?
Yeah, living in guilt.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, you brought that up. Guilt is in the past, fear is in the future. But the present, this is where we need to be. So, it's also aligning your self-talk with that, to self-analyze and say, wait a minute, let's see. What I just said is me living in the past. Or what I just said is me being afraid of an outcome I can't even control. Right? So, reseat the thought, rethink it, interrupt the pattern with the opposite. And eventually, you'll stop going this way and you'll only go this way. It's neurolinguistics, really, at its most basic level.
Well, it's programming your body, right? Because it's not something we're all used to, and it's not something we're going to stop doing either, okay? We are going to shit all over ourselves. We are going to say things that we don't really mean. We're going to have guilt. We're going to have fear. That's part of the human condition. That's never going to go away. But how long you stay there, I think, is really the difference between those that are self-evolved or self-aware, versus those that aren't. And that's part of the purpose of why we're doing this show, is to help you guys, give you guys some tools, so that when you start getting into this pattern of fear, or getting in this pattern of self-talk that's negative, or so much focus on your story in the past, your guilt, and all that, it's like, okay, it's valid. Your story was valid. Your story is meaningful. Your story has obviously shaped your life. However, it affects nothing in this present second of time. And the more you're spending your time embellishing on the past story or sitting in worry and fear, you're missing the joy of the moment, which is now, right? All we have is now, and we only have a select finite amount of nows before we're off this planet. Yeah. So why do I want to waste all my nows on shit that already happened in the past, or things that I'm going to worry about in the future? Yeah. It's stealing the joy, which is now. It's stealing the joy, which is the present, right? Isn't there something's the present, it's the past. I don't know. There's some little phrase.
I think Ricky Bobby said, "If you're not first, you're last."
Shake and bake.
But this also dovetails also into something else, which we talked about: attacking things head on. Right? Don't avoid. You have it right now. In the now. In the now, I'm going to eat that frog. Brian Tracy had a book, "Eat That Frog." At least it was an app for him, I think. Don't put off the most difficult one. We talked at lunch today, and you said, they made 100 calls, and they said, "Ooh, I made 100 calls," but you didn't make the one that was the most important one to make. You confused activity with accomplishment. Right?
Busy work.
You busied yourself. That's what you did. You didn't eat that frog. You didn't do the one that was the number one most important thing. And what a way to start your day. If we all need help, which we do, why not empower ourselves immediately in the morning by having a sense of accomplishment? One of the things you can do to do that is make your bed. If you're not making your bed, you're missing out. You're missing out on an opportunity to improve and enhance your self-esteem and self-confidence. Go off into the world self-confident. And to do that, do little things, disciplines that'll make you feel better about yourself.
It's making little wins all the way, right? But then getting back to the most prolific thing that was said today about gratitude, I don't know who brought that up. Was that you? No, that was me, I think. But as you have these little wins, be grateful for them. Recognize it. Okay, you know what? Yeah. Guess what I did? I made my bed this morning. I don't normally do that. I organized my kitchen this morning. I cleaned out my closet today. I got to the gym earlier than I wanted.
I made your mom's bed. I mean, yes. Sorry.
Huh? You get the point. I mean, now I'm flustered.
See that? It's so easy.
Yeah.
Delicate. All right, now let's talk about, once you go off into the world, who are you associating with? What a huge component of your life. Give them the average.
The average? Well, you are the average. This is a Jim Rohnism, right? That you are the average of the 5 people that you hang out with. You know, who you're spending the most time with, you are the average of those people.
In attitude, in wealth, or lack of, in health. In every area of your life, really.
Yeah.
Right?
Pretty much. You know, if you sit back right now and you're listening to this, which, by the way, we really appreciate you guys tuning in here and would love the feedback on whatever you guys want to throw out here as to how we could do it better, or, you know, if you want more of me and less of him. No, seriously, we'd love the feedback on the show here. This is our first one, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, the point about, you know, you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. You know, think about that. Who are the 5 people that influence you the most and you spend the most time with? You know, sometimes those might be family members that are really bringing you down. Like, you look at them and you say, you know what, I hear what you have to say, but I don't agree with the path that you're on. I don't choose to be part of that. And
they want to kind of keep you the way you are. nobody likes change, so they want you to be the person you've always been, right?
Right, they want to keep you in their tribe, right? Because they're comfortable having you in their tribe because you're like them. And, you know, as you grow and develop and create new values and new beliefs and new dreams and new goals.
You'll be surprised in the people that will be like, you know, saboteurs to that.
Absolutely,
really?
Right? They don't want to lose you.
Yeah.
But, you know, the strength of cutting those cords and moving forward and moving into a better tribe and associating yourself with like-minded people that are, you know, or that challenge you. You know, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. If
or
you're
the richest person,
right. You're in the wrong room. Okay, and if you think about this too, if we are the average of our 5 friends, or the 5 people we associate with, and they're evolving also, whose list are you number 5 on? That they're getting ready to cut you.
Yeah, great question.
You know,
yeah,
like if you're not encouraging, if you're not adding value to your core 5, guess what? You may be cut from that core 5.
Now, not to say that you don't have a leadership role when you're the number 1, right? There is a sense of responsibility to give back and share and help people go. But if you're spending all your time being the richest guy in the room and the smartest person in the room and the healthiest, most fit person in the room, like now, you're in the wrong room, right? You still want to mentor and help and lead other people, but you need to be challenged, right? You need to be challenged. And folks, by the way, we're happy to bring you along. If you don't have mentors, and you know, the most surprising thing is you can call pretty much anybody and say, hey, can I take you to coffee and pick your brain?
Yeah.
Any CEO would say, you know what, yeah, it might take a month to get on the calendar, or if it's a cup of coffee is even easier. You'd be surprised how many people will actually say yes. I mean, almost all of them.
Most people love to talk about themselves and what they do, and they have really no problem, in many cases, sharing that information with you and teaching you how to get there.
Yeah.
They really do, especially people that seem to be the more successful or have the most balanced lifestyles in life. They seem to be also the most generous with their time. And you wouldn't think that because they seem so successful. They must be slammed.
Right.
They're
so busy.
They're so busy. They're at all the church functions.
They would much rather do that than what's got them so busy.
Yeah.
They really would.
They really
right?
would.
I know I would.
Yeah.
You know, when I have an opportunity to coach somebody and sit down with somebody, talk to them about their life and help them, you know, remove barriers or whatever it might be, I look forward to that more than I look forward to anything else. And somebody say, hey, I want to take you to lunch and pick your brain. Oh, absolutely. I'm excited about that. Not that I can talk about me, that I can help them not step in the same hole and quicksand that I did along the way. You know, save them some time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, to give back again, you know, the world becomes a much better place when you're contributing, right? Again, you know, to quote Tony Robbins, one of my biggest mentors, he talks about the 6 human needs that are the fundamentals for all great relationships, and they are significance, variety or uncertainty, growth, contribution, love. Did I get them all? Significance, certainty, variety, growth, contribution, and love. And contribution being a very strong one, right? That's outwardly, what are you giving back in the world? You know, if you're looking strictly at your own significance and my own certainty, and let me protect all this for myself, all right, you're not really gaining friendships, you're not really gaining abundance, you're not really gaining until you start actually contributing and loving, you know, a more outward contribution that helps. I don't know if I'm saying this right, but it helps build your soul. It helps build, you know, the abundance that you'll have in your life, both health-wise and emotionally, and even financially too. Okay, the more you can create wealth for other people, the more you'll create it for yourself.
Givers
right?
get.
Givers get.
Givers get. So instead of saying, "How can I help me?" If you know, like in sales, if you're in sales, your job is to be resourceful to everybody around you. And if you feed enough people business and referrals, the law of reciprocity will step in, and they will eventually feel like indebted to return the favor. You don't do it for that reason. You just do it because you know what you put out, you will get back. Givers get. If you focus on the give, you will get way more than if you focus on the get.
Right. Agreed.
You know, another thing we wrote down here was energy, and really nothing is possible without energy. I mean, reading a book takes energy. Certainly going to the gym takes energy. Having that meeting, you know, doing your very best. All of these things take energy, and energy really stems from the body. It starts from the body and the mind. The body first. You've got to have a healthy vessel. So if you're filling your body with stuff that drags you down, if you're drinking stuff that's not good for you, you're eating food that's not good for you, you will have a lack of energy. And with a lack of energy, it's a compounding effect. You won't want to do this, which will make you not want to do this, which will make you want to do this. It's just like you go to discipline, right? We can cross over to discipline for a moment. You know, having discipline creates energy because as you do something over and over again, you start to build your self-esteem, your self-confidence, and you start to gain some energy because you're feeling some momentum. And isn't that what it's all about? Momentum. You want momentum in your relationships. You want momentum in your business. You want momentum in your health and
you want growth.
All
right?
your goals, your growth.
Getting
Exactly.
back to that 6 human needs, right?
Yeah.
Growth is a critical component of that. And how you create growth is through momentum and focus and, you know, and discipline, consistency. Yeah. So, you know, if you're not growing, you're dying. So there is no such thing as status quo. We're all moving forward or moving in a negative direction. And hopefully, you know, everybody on this call is at least through something that we've talked about, because we've covered a lot of stuff here today. And, you know, hopefully you picked up on one or two tools and you said, you know what, I'm going to try this. I'm not expecting anybody to believe anything we said. Try it on. Just, you know, check it out yourself and go, hey, what was this? Gratitude was great. Maybe let's check out the 6 human needs. Let's talk about momentum. Let's talk about the evolving and our spiral, and maybe the 212 theories that we talked about, or some state management, or maybe just a self-talk. You know,
every single one of these could be hour and 10-hour type conversations, and
right.
That's our goal. You know, we're going to take these subjects along with a lot of other subjects and into a series of these talks and these videos that we're going to start producing, which will, you know, dive in a little bit deeper. So we talked a little bit about gratitude, but there's so much to that, and there's so many things that we can do. There's tools that can align you. There's resources that we can forward and make sure that you have access to. That's kind of our goal. So the purpose of these videos is to help people move the ball in their life, right? Help you take it to the next level, help you get unstuck. Right. And not just get unstuck, help wherever you are. There's always room for improvement. There's always an evolvement.
There's always another degree. There's always one more degree that you can push yourself through.
So thank you for your time.
Yeah, this is awesome.
It.
We really appreciate you letting us do this. This is our first draft.
Comment on the videos, please. We'll read your comments.
Let us know if there's a topic in particular that you'd really like us to spend some quality time on. Just give us some feedback on the whole show here. Again, this is our first time doing this, and it's not going to be our last. We're looking forward to a great series of this kind of stuff, bringing in some really cool speakers as well, other than just the two of us. And so, if you want to speak on our show and you've got something that's really worthwhile talking about, let us know, man. Let us know. We'd like to invite really, you know, forward-thinking, strong CEOs, strong entrepreneurs, strong people that are just giving back to the world. givers, contributors, and just beautiful souls. We want to share part of that, when we're getting together here. So let us know.
And some of this will be professional development, not just personal. Most of the stuff we talked about today is personal, which obviously bleeds over into professional. But sometimes we're going to have topics that will just be specifically like
business.
How do you get a raise? How do you really handle a startup, right? Or how do you go to get funding? Or how do you get your company known in the community, et cetera? So we're going to tackle all kinds of subjects. We hope that you find some value in them, and we do appreciate your time.
We're both level 5 oranges, so we're drivers, man. We're going to get some stuff done. We'll talk some business later as well. So again, thanks for being part of our show. This is the Frank and Jason show?
Jason and Frank.
Frank Clark and Frank Clark.
I'm Jason Caras, and he's not.
Good job, brother.
All right, man. See ya.